The weather is looking gnarly. Please put me back on the cruise ship.
Good morning all, and Donna here with another vlog. I wanted to do this video real quick to review my holiday, even though I don't really need to because there's all positives when it comes to Royal Caribbean. I wanted to share my favourite highlights of the holiday, the things that I enjoyed the most, and what we have, I suppose, for future plans when it comes to cruising. So let's get this vlog rolling. As you know, we very recently took a holiday on the Anthem of the Seas to the Norwegian fjords, a quantum class ship with 16 decks and capable of holding 4,905 guests aboard. Our itinerary for Anthem was to leave Southampton, day at sea, Stavanger, Geiranger, Olden and Bergen, and the last day at sea before being back in Southampton to disembark. Getting onto the ship was straightforward. We checked in a few weeks earlier to be given a boarding time, which was 11:30 a.m, and I had our sea pass photos taken. When it came to embarking the ship, our vaccination reports were checked, our passports and our test results of the 2 lateral flow tests we did in Manchester 48 hours earlier. We had viewed the app on our phones called Royal, which allowed us to begin the process of going through emergency protocols, such as how to apply a life jacket and what sounds to listen for on the ship if we had to head to our muster stations and be evacuated. You then had to head to your muster station and be scanned that you were present and accounted for and that you completed the process. On the app itself as well is a health questionnaire that you have to fill out prior to boarding. You have to fill this out before they check in so that they can review those questions and that in that space of time that you haven't come down with any symptoms that could be related to coronavirus that would prevent you from boarding the ship. After all the formalities were out the way, and because we couldn't enter the cabin, we couldn't access our SeaPass cards which were with the cabin, we went to guest services and got new SeaPass cards so that we could go over to the middle of the Esplanade and pick up our drinks cups, which came with a deluxe package that we took out with an offer that they had that was £40 per person per day, I think it was. It covers all alcohol across the ship. Pretty funky cup. I like it. I picked red and Carl picked blue. As soon as the captain announced over the tannoy across the ship that cabins were available, we finished off eating our food and went over to the cabin, which was on deck 9 for us, and we were not disappointed with the cabin. It was lovely and it was tidy, it was fresh, it was clean, and the first thing we did was went straight over to the balcony and see if we could spot the car from the balcony, which we were glad to say we could see the car. But also we could see a very long line of people outside waiting to get in, which wasn't fun because it was raining. We did find out, however, the reason why. It was because, yes, our boarding time was 11:30. There was people still on the ship from the cruise previous that had not yet disembarked, and Royal Caribbean wouldn't allow anyone else on board until they were confirmed as leaving the ship. So that delayed us for the best part of an hour. Thankfully for us though, we got in when we did, that we could sit indoors, but I did feel for the people that had to stand outside and wait. I mean, it was a while for them. So my favourite thing that was on the ship, we discovered on day 2, which was a day at sea, was the bionic bar. That thing was amazing. The fact that you just swipe your SeaPass card and then you pick whatever drink you want and you send it up to this really big screen and it makes you drink. It shows the process that the arms are going through to make the drink, and oh, it was amazing. It was brilliant. We did order a good handful of drinks while we was on there, but by that evening, drinks like cocktails like Sex on the Beach and that, it was no longer available on the little app that you used to do it, because I think everybody had gone a bit nuts with the bionic bar, ordering things just for the sake of it, and they ran out of alcohol and it didn't look like they were going to refill it in a hurry. So I found another one called Sunshine, and that was just as tasty as the Sex on the Beach. I also really enjoyed the solarium as well. It was really, really nice. It was nice and warm, especially when you were travelling up towards Norway and it was cold. But unfortunately, we didn't really get an opportunity to actually chill out and use the pools on holiday because, one, there was a lot going on the cruise ship, and two, we like to bring a towel and so on, our phones if we want to take any pictures, leave them on a sun lounger that's quite close to the pools so that we can keep an eye on our things while we're in the pool. And we could not find a sun lounger anywhere. And the one thing that does gripe me is, and it still happens on cruises just like it does in a resort like in Spain, is you always get somebody who will take their towels, dump them on a sun lounger, and then they'll disappear for hours. So when you think, well, you know, that sunbed's been empty for quite a while, I'm going to have to take the towels off, I want to use the sun lounger, and they come back and they cause all kinds of havoc. Why have you took it? Well, sorry, but you weren't there and you'd been gone for quite some time, and we've moved your towels, they haven't gone anywhere, they're still there. We're sorry, but you're hogging a sunbed that you didn't need to hog because you had no intention of using it. A lot of people had done that on the ship, and it just kind of miffed me a little bit because at the end of the day, there are people who actively want to use the sun lounges as something to go back to after they've been in the pool, so the towel's waiting for them, and then leave with your things so that there's somebody else can have the sun lounges. There was nothing like that. A lot of the time that we're in the solarium looking for a sun lounger, they've been emptied for ages, like nobody had claimed them for ages, but left the towels on there, and it was very, very infuriating. At one point, I wanted to try sitting on the swing that they had on it, but some idiot decided that they were going to put the towels, their shoes and everything on that swing and disappear. So they were probably in the pool, but as far as I'm aware, that swing is not designed to leave your shit on it and go wandering off. So that was my kind of gripe when it came to stuff like that. The one thing that I can't stand when you do want to use a sun lounger is people hog them. They leave the towels, they walk away, and they're gone for hours. We took part in a specialty restaurant on day 6 of our cruise, and that was it was called Wonderland. That was a very unique experience, as it so describes, and the food is completely bizarre. It's like they had like a whole egg in half on like a nest of something, which was really confusing. But it tasted really nice. There were some really weird things that they present here, and the waiting on staff, the waiter himself was like, do you trust me to pick something off the menu for you? And we just said yes. You know, we had an idea of what we liked and stuff, and he went off that, which is what they do when you're in Wonderland. The interesting part was the menu. It's just like a blank photo frame and a paintbrush that you get on your plate with some water, and what you do is you paint over the photo frame and your menu actually appears on it, which I thought was quite cool and bizarre. But I couldn't get my head around how the menu works. So obviously when the waiter came in his velvet jacket, and that was very good, he showed us what we could get, wanted to know what cocktails we wanted, and we just had to trust him. It was a bit difficult for me and Carl because it was things like tomatoes, which Carl isn't a fan of, and olives, which we're both not a fan of, I put one in my mouth by accident and it was horrible. I hate olives with an absolute passion. But there were some really unique things to try. There was something that had avocado in it, and Carl didn't like avocado, but he still ate it, and it had like lobster or something in the bottom of this little cone thing. Overall, it was an interesting experience, and it was a good experience, but I could not tell you now what it was we had on that menu. It was so much, and the puddings were like out of this world. I don't like peanut butter at all. Ugh, horrible. But I had this chocolate thing with peanut butter ice cream, sort of caramel ice cream, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to have that. That was unique, seeing the chocolate melt around it. That was quite cool. And even though we had both ordered a pudding each, the waiter brought out another pudding, which was like a pistachio It had pistachio in it and it was the shape of a mushroom. So cute. But by the time we'd eaten everything that was presented to us, we were so full that we couldn't eat that third pudding that had been presented to us. We gave it a good try though, but my God, I was so stuffed after that. Another favourite of mine was the 270 venue at the back of the ship, because I always said that Anthem looks like she's got a big arse. That's actually what houses the venue, and it has like these screens that are held on by arms when they move around. And we went in there for some lunch after we'd been back on the ship from exploring Stavanger, and they were rehearsing for a show called Spectras Cabaret, which I thought was like, you know, I'm a bit sceptical about these productions and stuff, like musicals. I've never ever been able to enjoy a musical. I just can't sit through them. Besides the point, we watched this particular one, which was, I don't really think it was a musical. It was like there was singing in it and stuff, and lots of dancing, but it wasn't something like West Side Story or another musical. I've seen a musical before on Independence of the Seas. No, it wasn't actually. It was Emerald Princess. It was a musical we had to sit through, and I couldn't enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy it at all. But this Spectras Cabaret was quite a good show. We enjoyed it, and there was a guy there that was like, he was called Spectra, and we'd seen him in the ports a few times, said hello, told him how we really liked the show, and he was like, oh, thank you, you know. That was really good to watch. We couldn't film any of it or take photos. They don't recommend that because it can distract the dancers and stuff. So we were like, okay, no problem. Definitely worth a watch. There's also a cafe there as well where you can order food. So that afternoon, while they were rehearsing for the show, we ordered like a Caesar salad from one of the bars. Carl got some drinks, and we just sat eating a Caesar salad, which, by the way, was absolutely delicious, and the croutons were like this. I think there was more croutons than there was Caesar salad, like everything else. But no, it was beautiful Caesar salad. We also did movies in the 270, but we didn't really go and see them. We were too busy in the main dining room or trying out other places as well. And day 2 was also formal night, which we didn't actually do this time round on both days. We couldn't get like a rented tuxedo or anything for him in time, and I've got too big for my dress, so we just thought, we're not going to bother this time round. We'll just mill around the ship, see what's going on, which other cruise lines, there are people that can turn their nose up to that, but no, we were able to walk around the ship in our normal clothes, and not a single person batted an eyelid. Nobody seemed to care. And the bonus part as well is that for formal night, there was a group of people dressed as Vikings. One other thing I really enjoyed when we was on the ship that we got to try at least once, what they call complimentary, was North Star. The best way you could describe North Star is a very long crane that sits across the top of the ship, actually on top of the roof of the indoor pool. And what it is basically a capsule that goes up like this really high, and it can actually sway like this way and this way. And I actually think it can be like this and go like this way and this way if you're out to sea, but that is a fee. I chose to make a reservation and go on it when we was in Geiranger, so that we could get a really good look at the Geiranger fjords, which was really, really nice. And when you actually look down from its maximum height, you can see the whole, like the length of the ship from the outdoor pool, and then the funnels at the other side. So that was really, really cool to see as well. Only got to have 15 minutes at a time, and unfortunately for me is the capsule actually broke down just as we were getting into it, and the security measures, the safety measures wouldn't activate, so they had to call an engineer straight up to fix it. It did work in the end, but we were waiting a good 10-15 minutes. There is a weight restriction on it. It's a maximum of £300, which we worked it out to about 21 stone in England. And it turns out that there are hatches on the floor in the capsule. So it made us wonder if the weight restriction isn't necessarily because of the capsule, although that could be a factor, but the maximum weight to abseil if it broke down in the air and you had to abseil down to the deck. so maybe it's the maximum weight that can be carried in a breakdown. Stavanger was a really busy place when we actually docked on Anthem. They were actually celebrating Constitution Day, and we got to see a lot of the Norwegians in traditional clothing, and it's absolutely wonderful. And they were singing, and the kids were spelling out some a word, and it was like, give me an N, give me an O, for example, so the other kids were repeating them. It was a really nice atmosphere, and they were walking along with their flags, singing, dancing, music going. It was a really alive, lovely, lovely atmosphere. We walked round to the far side of the dock, to the opposite side, where you could still see Anthem right in front of you, and obviously there was another ship on that day as well, which was from Viking Cruise Lines. This one was called Jupiter, and her place of registration, if I understand correctly, is Bergen, which is the last port we visited on holiday. There was a lot of cheering, and we heard what we think could have been the national anthem in this pub, but you could tell there was a lot of people in this pub, and they were actually overflowing and spilling into the street, singing and dancing and laughing, and it was actually really, really nice to see amongst all the tourists that had invaded their time. Unfortunately for me though, I spent a lot of time trying to find a toilet and ended up waiting to get back onto the ship because I don't know how many shots of coffee that they put in your drink, but in that morning, all that afternoon, I was peeing every 10 minutes. So when I got off the ship, I was okay, but then towards us making our way back to the ship, I was absolutely busting for the toilet, and I only had one coffee, so there must have been a lot of caffeine in that drink. I think my favourite port of call when we was on Anthem was none other than Geiranger itself. There were waterfalls nearby called the Seven Sisters, and it's known that ships do a 360 turn in that area where they are, and it is absolutely breathtaking being able to see stuff like that. There were waterfalls all the way through the fjords. There were little ones, there's some big ones, and there was the Seven Sisters. And I think from leaving there and heading round this sort of bend, and that's where Geiranger was. While we was on the ship, we were disappointed to find that a small letter had been left in the cabin, and the letter was that the troll car excursion that we had paid for had been cancelled, so we had to come up with something different. Now we went out for a walk around Geiranger, around the village, past the shops. I fell down a hole, and we had seen this lovely river, and we were aware there was some stairs nearby that a lot of people could walk up and down to the top, and you could see some of the bottom of the village where the ship was docked, and see quite a lot in the distance. But when we got up there wasn't really a lot, and there was a lot of trees that kind of really obstructed that view. But we had seen that other people posted photos, and they were really high in the mountains looking down at where Anthem was, and we didn't get that opportunity to be able to see that, so it was a bit of a letdown. But however, overall, we just milled all around, walked around, and it was really nice for the time that we had, and we really did enjoy seeing Geiranger. We left the Geiranger fjords and the sun had set by 10:40 p.m. However, it didn't actually go dark that night because I walked along the deck about 11 o'clock in the evening, and it was like a twilight. I don't actually think the sun had set at all. Well, it had, but it didn't go dark at all. And I think the sun rose again at around... Somebody said that they'd seen it rise about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Yes. Whereas in the UK, it's pitch black. You look outside and the stars in the sky. There was nothing like that. It was still very, very light outside. We headed down the coast to Oldham, and we docked in Oldham at, I think it was 6 a.m. in the morning as well. And it was a little bit cloudy, but it didn't actually rain the whole time we were there, which was good for us because it did rain a bit when we was in Geiranger, and we got a little bit damp. We did a bus tour in Oldham, and if you watch that vlog that I did, there was some certain individuals that did kind of ruin it for us, but we made the best of that situation. We had a mooch around. Carl bought himself a new coat that looks quite decent quality, and the scenery there was amazing. It was absolutely fabulous. You could get off the bus, take a few pictures and videos, selfies, get back on, go somewhere else. It was a bit strange though, because it said advertisers 3 stops, so it was 2 stops and then one that ended at the glacier. But what we didn't realise is the 3rd stop was actually on the way back. So we had to walk from the 3rd stop back to the ship, or you could carry on and finish the journey back at the ship. But we did spot some shops there, so we ended up mooching around the shops, and then we walked the rest of the way back, which really, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't a very long walk. And it was really nice as well, so we enjoyed it, and just we dawdled. We didn't really rush to get back, despite the fact that I had a coffee again that morning and I was busting for the toilet again. When we left Oldham, they had music blasting from a pub that was sort of by the waterside, and they played Rod Stewart's Sail Away, Status Quo's Rocking All Over the World, and a very popular song, or rather operatic music, Time to Say Goodbye. The loveliest part of it when we were leaving is that families were turning up alongside the water, and they had the little children and they were waving to the people on a ship that were leaving. That was really nice. Port Authority were at the side waving the Norwegian flag, which was really nice. And I'd even spotted 2 of the workers that had unhooked the ship from, unhooked its ropes, had danced their way into the pub to the Status Quo song, which was really funny as well. I managed to get a clip of them doing that. And it was really nice to see. It was like these kids waving at you at the ship, and we were just waving back, you know. It was really nice to see, but I would expect these people were used to having ships coming in a lot all of the time, and probably took the children there quite regularly to wave at people on the ships as well. So it was really nice. And the sun did try to come out during the day, and I can't remember if it had come out when we were leaving. I think it was sort of in and out the clouds, but it was really, really nice to see people out waving and everything. So that was really pleasant. Our last stop on the cruise was Bergen. It was a little bit difficult to get out. It was a very short stay in Bergen. We had set sail at 2:30, so it was a quick trip, and we cut it finer than we'd like. We got back on the ship an hour before she was due to set sail, or rather all aboard at 2 o'clock. We just did a bus, like a I can never say it, a sightseeing bus or a city seeing bus that took you around a specific route, Bergen. That was really nice as well, but it was quite hot because it didn't have the roof back, like pulled back, so the bus was quite warm. There were some really nice places in Bergen as well. We were planning on getting off to have a look around the town centre, but because there was a delay in the bus getting to the stop we were at, we ended up having to make the decision to stay on the bus for the whole journey. Otherwise we probably would have been late coming back and potentially missed the ship. So in the end we just decided to do the full round on the bus, which took about an hour and a bit. Got back on the ship after that, so it was a very, very brief look around Bergen. And considering that it was like, it wasn't where you could see loads of rolling mountains like you could see in Geiranger, I found it a little bit underwhelming for myself. I mean, it was a nice place, there were mountains still there, but it just didn't have that same thrilling, beautiful landscape that Geiranger and that had, because they were only villages, whereas Bergen is a very, very built up area. But it was nice. We got to see their fish markets, other ships that were in port, and it looked quite busy because probably the sun was out as well. People using what did you call it? Oh no, I've forgotten now. Oh, it's a car that goes up the hill. A funicular. Awkward. That was really awkward, I forgot that. So that was really nice as well. It was just unfortunate we didn't really get to stay there very long, and Bergen was lovely as well. But after Bergen, it was a last day at sea and then back to Southampton. That's it for the end of this video, and I hope you really enjoyed it. And if you have, I would love for you to hit subscribe and tap on that bell, and you'll get a notification when another video goes online. If you have any questions that are going around in your head, please take a look at my other vlogs of the holiday itself. It may answer those questions for you. I will drop the links of each video in the description below if you started off with this one. You can also ask me questions in the comments below, but I can't guarantee that I will be able to answer them. Again, this is only the 4th cruise I've ever done, and it's only my 2nd with Royal Caribbean, so things I am not very knowledgeable on, and I have never claimed that I do know, just from stuff that I know from the holidays that I've been on myself. I want to thank Royal Caribbean, of course, for a lovely holiday as well, and as always, it's a holiday I'll never forget. I've never been to the fjords. There's a possibility I may never be able to go again, but I'm really happy that this is an opportunity for me to see them at least once in my life, which makes me very happy. So thank you for an experience on Anthem of the Seas. And thank you to all the crew who were amazing on the ship, and the bridge crew who steered us clear and true along the foggy weather and the grumpy seas. It was fabulous. Thank you again. I'll see you guys very soon.